I spent about 25 years in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, and 2 out of the 3 teachers I studied with closely have been credibly accused of quite severe sexual and financial misconduct.
Yep.
So it's heartbreaking, and it raises the question, which of these deep, profound teachings are valid for me and which are tainted? And in a way, they're all tainted because the people who taught me weren't sincere fully. But at the same time, there's all this wisdom and profound insights there. Do you have some advice for that?
Well, first I want to just resonate with the pain of it, because it is basically a betrayal. The proximal betrayal is that you, the student, or the people who put trust in the teachers, were betrayed, okay? The bigger thing is that the Dharma itself was being betrayed, okay? Because the cardinal principle is one of optimizing what the Buddhists would refer to as the wholesome and minimizing the unwholesome. And predatory behavior of any kind, however manipulative, however dressed up in spiritual clothing or anything like that, is really an act of violence, huge violence, which completely contradicts the Dharma. So I learned a long time ago, and thanks for sort of bringing up what I said about learning from some of the teachers who were like, as one of my Korean teachers said, a little no good, you know. It's like I'm fairly disrespectful of the human beings, you know. I have a big, don't know, but not of the Dharma. See, I've put the Dharma to the test in my own life, and I continue to do it, and it continues to be, sort of valid and valuable. So the shorthand is trust the teachings and put them to the test in the laboratory of your own life, and the teachers, don't venerate them or notice the impulse to venerate them and even investigate that. It's like, where does that come from in you? Okay, because everybody wants to be favored by the teacher and to be seen and met. And you see, and a teacher, ethical teacher, will reflect that back to the student, and it would be like really grist for the mill, and you grow by recognizing how much you want to be recognized by the other. Why? Because in some sense you're not recognizing yourself. Okay? So this is, again, it's perfect in the sense because we can't control the whole universe. Even the spiritual teachers, I mean, it's not like your teachers invented that. It's been going on forever, and yet there's also this current of deep, authentic, selfless transmission. And it's in the teachings themselves. And the teachings themselves are not in some museum. They are in a kind of ongoing, flourishing laboratory. So they're changing over time. But the question is, while the teachings themselves may change in form, the Dharma, the wisdom element, is in some sense timeless. And we have to find a way to be in that, sort of paradoxical situation of, again, in time and growing and out of time and completely whole already. And then your beauty shines through. It really is a love affair, but it's not narcissistic or more for me. And thank you for asking that question. It's like really important. Yeah. Here, pass.
Thank you, Jon, for your authenticity. How do you operationalize the practice of mindfulness? In my life, I practice an instrument, I practice at sports, and I've been giving a great deal of thought in the practice of mindfulness as letting go of the idea that I'm actually practicing anything and just being in my life, so that mindfulness isn't something that I do in a practice, but it's who I am.
Yeah, you just said it. You answered your own question, now, which we often do. Now just believe it, or test it, because life is actually the practice. And yet it's important to have thoughts about the practice because, we're continually stretching the envelope, we're evolving. But, those of us here who are like, I'm going to be on the stage this afternoon with my old friend Stephen Mitchell, and we called it Old Dharma brothers, okay? Underscore the old part, you know? Before you know it, you're going to be over 70. At least that was my experience. You'll still feel like you're 20 or 5 or something like that, but you won't be. And people will begin to sort of treat you differently. Seriously. From the inside, it's like you've been practicing your whole life, and really it's like, am I there yet? And it's really interesting to ask that question once it's over, because, you know, in the process, you always think that there's a destination, but then at a certain point, you begin to realize that there is no there. It's like, am I here? And there's no then and now. So that way, you can save yourself decades by just getting out of your own way and trusting that the world is your Dharma teacher. And the more you're really listening, the more you don't have to actually be concerned about the deepening. The deepening is going to do you. And it will do you in unique ways because of what you love. You might be drawn to this, or you might be drawn to that. I mean, one of my particular sort of teachers, I mean, you know, is a collection of people who died over 1,500 years ago, the Tang Dynasty Chan masters. And I mean, and their teaching is available, you know, and it's phenomenal. But people draw on the larger Dharma tradition in many, many different ways. Yoga is an incredibly powerful practice. I mean, yoga is a deep and very big and important part of MBSR. Why? It's a different door. There are an infinite number of doors, same room. Okay? Do a first approximation, same room. And the world really is requiring you to do this ethically, responsibly, and lovingly by letting go of doing anything. And I know it sounds weird, but in my experience, it's trustworthy.